This is Mike again. I just want to give an update on the Racing Beat exhaust install. So we're going to cover a couple. So we're about finished. We're going to cover a couple of quick things in the engine real quick. Kind of an update for the next person who goes and does this, and then we'll do an overview of how it looks underneath the car, so you can kind of see where everything sits. I'm hoping that's beneficial for someone undertaking this job. And then in one of the videos, we're going to do a test drive. That might not be for a few days because the weather's not cooperating here in Pennsylvania, if anybody was curious where this video is being shot from. So now, let's go to the engine bay. This is Mike again. In part one, I pointed out the air control valve block-off plate that Racing Beat provides. And after I looked at it a little more, and again, I'm shooting these little things so that somebody else can avoid, a mistake or confusion if they go to do this. But basically, I didn't have a gasket for this, and didn't know if I needed one or not. I had originally had it on in the first video without the gasket. But I found out that Atkins Rotary does in fact sell air control valve gaskets. It was only like $10. And I bought one, and it is installed. You might be able to see it poking out here a little bit. So again, if you get this plate and you're wondering does it need a gasket or not, yes it does. And Atkins Rotary sells them. Also, if you look back here, this little red wire that's sticking up, that's a wire provided by Racing Beat that hooks into the engine, and that's basically an extension lead for your O2 sensor. If you see where it's kind of plugged in right there. So that's fed down sort of the left side of the transmission, down where like sort of the starter wires and whatnot plug in. And when I go into the car, I'll show you where the O2 sensor now is located and where that wire plugs in. So they give you an extension wire so you can feed it down there and reach the new location of the O2 sensor. Okay, so now we're going to go underneath the car. Yeah, so the first part is the Racing Beat header. And you can see here it's in there nice and secure. Goes in by the 4 bolts. Everything is got anti-seize on there so that we don't have to ever wrestle with them in the future. Try to put the bolts on as evenly as possible so that the gasket seals. I guess we'll find out how good of a job I did when we test drive. So yeah, here's the header portion. And then right here, it comes around. This is the new oxygen sensor I bought. Again, just go ahead and buy a new one for how much it is. Just saves you a lot of hassle, and you got a nice brand new oxygen sensor in there. But the way we fed that is we fed that along through here underneath the old mounting bracket for the exhaust, which you don't need, doesn't look like you need for here, because this is perfect. This is perfectly secure. Again, I don't know if this is the right way or not, but I tie wrapped it here, and this is where it's plugged into that red wire. I went ahead and put shrink tubing around here and up into this to help it avoid corrosion, and then I did some tie wrapping here to kind of keep it nice and tidy there. So. So yeah, there's the header portion. Okay, this is that connecting pipe that I had mentioned in the other videos that you have to save. And if you haven't seen part 2 yet, but I got this sandblasted and powder coated, so it just looks beautiful. But I mentioned in the other video that you haven't seen yet that I may have made an error, and this powder coating may not hold up to temperature. It may end up just burning off. So I'm going to take some temperature readings of this and find out what the temp is when I come up to full operating temperature. I'm going to take it on a pretty hard test drive and take some readings and see how that goes. But it sure does look nice now. But that powder coating may come off or may not. Maybe be fine. I'm not sure. But this is the connecting pipe I mentioned in part 1 that you have to save from the original equipment exhaust. Okay, and so this is the Racing Beat. I think they call it the Power Pulse Muffler. And yeah, it went in there pretty nicely once everything else. And I forgot to mention, I worked from front to back. So, you know, header, pre-silencer, connecting pipe, muffler. So it went front to back. One thing that gave me a little bit of trouble with this bracket up here, I tried to put a brand new hanging bracket, which Racing Beat sells, along with Atkins Rotary, I think also sells them. And I couldn't figure out how to hook it up to here. And I thought, oh, maybe it doesn't take this bracket. And I was about ready to give up, but I didn't like how much play. It's a little bit of play now, but it's pretty, I think that's about appropriate. But it turned out that this bracket was on the old exhaust, and I didn't think to take it off. And so I figured that out, and I did get it on, and it's mounted in there quite nicely now. And yeah, so everything's sitting pretty good. I'm really anxious to fire it up and give it a good leak test. And so that'll be what I do. I won't film that part, but I'm going to end up starting the car and let it run for a little bit. And I'm going to get underneath and look for leaks while it's up in the air. And I'm going to do that before we go on a test drive.